Okay, should be working. Right. Okay. So we are on the thing. Hello everybody and welcome to Lesbians are Taking Over the World. We're a brand new podcast and I'm just going to be rambling on my own tonight. We're live on Facebook at the moment. If you would like to join in on the chat, we have a Discord server where you can hop on the voice chat. You're welcome to do that. Since it's just me tonight and I haven't got another co-host, I'm just going to be rambling generally about lesbian things. So just bear with me a sec. I'm just going to check some settings and make sure that we're live and everything's going fine. This is my first time doing a Facebook live, so please be gentle and bear with me a second. I'm just going to go on the Facebook page and make sure that we are broadcasting okay, and then I'm going to play around with some settings, and of course it's going to be really, really slow. Right, bear with me, sorry. I really hope there's nobody listening right now. Okay. Let's see if we can share this. Yeah, it seems like no one's listening, so okay. I'm safe. Okay. If anybody is listening right now, I apologise. Hold on a sec. Excuse the technical difficulties. Just bear with me one sec. Yeah, so tonight I'm going to be discussing just some general TV stuff. I'm not going to do anything particularly hard-hitting. I could have been talked about, all kinds of stuff, politics, relationship issues, things like that, but I think while I'm on my own, I'll just talk about TV. So just bear with me a sec, I'm just going to do some technical stuff. Yeah. Right, all the technical stuff is done. Fantastic. Alright, all the boring stuff's out of the way. So yeah, I have recently been, actually last night, I was trying to, I don't know if anybody else does this, but last night I needed to try and sleep, and I did that really creepy thing that I've noticed a lot of lesbians do, where they'll watch like serial killer documentaries and things on Netflix as you're trying to drift off to sleep, or if if you're just relaxing and you're on a date with a girl or something like that. And I yeah, I recently started doing that due to a couple of I had a girlfriend that would do that, would fall asleep, and I used to think that she was completely sadistic and deranged. That how could you fall asleep to a serial killer documentary? And she was like, "Oh, it relaxes me." I'm like, it doesn't relax me hearing the full details of somebody being ripped apart with a knife and then tortured and mutilated. Nah, that's not going to make me feel sleepy. But yeah, I don't know why I decided last night that maybe I should take her advice and I'll just stick on a documentary, have it in the background, a fairly kind of uninteresting one, and then I'd just drift off to sleep. But what actually ended up happening was I got completely enthralled in this amazing documentary, and it was the worst thing I could have done, because I ended up staying up about an extra 4 hours, just completely gripped to this Netflix documentary. So I'm going to tell you about it. It's called The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. You'll probably see it come up because it's fairly new and it's on the top. The bit on Netflix where the banner at the top where it tells you new stuff. Bear with me a sec. Yeah, so I just flicked that on, and it did warn you at the beginning. It said that there was going to be graphic child abuse. It's a story about an 8-year-old boy who was tortured to death by his mother and stepfather. So, obviously, like, it's incredibly it's an incredibly difficult, traumatic story. Well, it's not a story; it's real life. But because I presumed I was just going to fall. I mean, when I heard the intro and it said how bad it was going to be, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to deal with this, because I find it very difficult to cope with any kind of child abuse stories. News, I can't deal with it. But because I thought I was going to fall asleep and I didn't think it was going to be that intense. I didn't think it mattered, but yeah, I highly recommend it. Just one of the most gripping documentaries I've seen in a long, long time. It's about, hang on, I'm just going to light my cigarette, excuse me. Like I say, it's about this 8-year-old boy in LA, and where I started to the documentary itself. Oh, sorry, bear with me a sec. Yeah, I'm just going to turn this off. Okay. The documentary itself, it starts very slow, and then there's a very slow build up, and they very gradually build you into any of the graphic details and the story and things like that, which is good, how slowly it builds up to it. But my God, when you actually start to go into because it does warn you at the beginning, it says this is an incredibly intricate story. It's not just a case of here's a monster, here's some parents who are a monster and they just tortured and killed a boy for no, it's a very complex story. And when they say that, you kind of think, yeah. But then as it goes into it, you realise, God, that, it really is complex. And where it was, obviously it's horrific, it's an horrific story. But where I started to be like, okay, I never saw that, was it was actually based a lot in homophobia. It was based around a lot of homophobia, a lot to do with the Catholic, well, it's not even religious really. It was just a cultural just homophobia in its true sense, where, it was homophobia. It was also scapegoating. It was also just evil, obviously, to torture and kill a boy of 8 years old. But yeah, anyway, I highly recommend it. I'm not really selling it to you, am I? It is bad, but it's not like it's also the documentary is all about the social services system in America and the corruption, and there's a company called Maximus, which is a contracting company that makes money from foster children. It actually makes money from foster children. So that's what I'm saying about how complex it is. It's not just a case of, here was an evil mother and stepfather, and they just, brutally abused and killed this boy. It's everything else that goes with it. It's the system, the social services system, the way that people, like, for example, there was a part in it where a woman didn't ring the police to report the case because she wouldn't have been paid the overtime. These are the kinds of complexities of the story, and like I said, the homophobia side of it, I never saw that coming. That was really interesting. So this boy, the mother was kind of like, the mother also had severe mental health. She had problems with her brain, actually physical problems with the brain. So and then on top of that, she had learning difficulties. You know what I mean? So she's not of the right mind anyway. She was abused severely as a child herself, and so she doesn't really have a moral compass in that sense. And this young, when the baby was born, he was actually adopted by his uncles, by his uncle, and his uncle was in a gay relationship with another man, and the baby wasn't wanted, so they offered to adopt the child, and they did. But then homophobia started after 4 years of them adopting this baby, and this young lad Gabriel, he was so happy. He was one of the most. Everybody said he was the most happiest child. These two gay men, his adoptive parents, his uncle, they loved him and they adored him, and it was all going great. And then homophobia kicked in, and I don't know if anybody knows, like, me personally, I've lived in Mexico, so I do know about homophobia in Catholic, deep rooted Hispanic Catholic communities, especially I think in kind of. They were from a kind of gangster area in LA, which is a very rough area, where, you still get beat up for being gay, basically. So, yeah, this gay couple adopted him, and then 4 years in, the community decided that a gay couple shouldn't be allowed to have a baby, a child. That's not right. It's, it was just homophobia, basically. So he then gets taken by his grandparents, but the mother, who, like I say, is the one that ended up torturing him and murdering him along with her boyfriend. By the way, the father is in jail at this point. He's also part of a gang culture, and he's in jail. So, but ironically enough, he's actually a very sweet, loving father, and he would have never have done that to him. Sorry, I've just seen people have joined the Facebook Live. Hello Tracy, hello Val, hello Casey. I'm just discussing a Netflix documentary you may have seen called The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. And I was just saying how it's fascinating. Well, it's not fascinating, it's a horrific story. But I never expected the complexity of the issues to do with homophobia and the social services and the corruption in the system and things like that. Anyway, what was I saying? So I think it gets adopted. And the mother took him back because she realised she could get a lot of money for child benefit, in America. But the mother and the stepfather were convinced that this 8-year-old child was gay because he was very gentle, very sweet, and typically kind of the men in their community, in their life, were very big, macho, strong, the typical kind of macho guys, and so they just automatically presumed thought he was gay. And because he'd been adopted by his uncle, who was in a gay couple, and he adored he adored his uncle. So I don't know, there's other theories as well. I mean, for example, when the stepfather, who murdered, who was one of the main people who murdered Gabriel, an 8-year-old boy, bear in mind, 8-year-old boy. The first thing he said when he was arrested was, he's gay. You know, as if to say, like, because the arresting officers were like, what has that got to do with any? We've just, you know, like, this boy is dying, because they tried to save him. You see, he stopped breathing. They beat him to death. And when they found him, were trying to resuscitate him. The stepfather said, "He's gay," as if like, and as the arresting officer said, "Your son is dying. You know, your stepson is dying. What has that got to do with any?" As if it's almost like, you know, a reason for why they've done this to him. You know, so it's a great, yeah. Anyway, I highly recommend this documentary. It's on Netflix. It's called The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. And like I said, I'd only turned it on to try and fall asleep to, and 4 episodes later, I was just totally gripped. You know, it's fascinating, the complexity of. I mean, for God's sake, at one point the teacher, this 8-year-old boy, was coming to school, and the teacher was seeing the cigarette burns on him, and seeing he was tortured. I mean, I'm not talking like a little bit of torture. This is considered the worst case of a tortured child in the history of America. That's how bad it was, and the fact that the teacher was seeing these obvious cigarette burns all over his body and his head, and you know, and his broken ribs and black eyes. He was kept in a cupboard, tied up in a cupboard pretty much for 8 months when he wasn't at school, and the fact that the teacher, I mean, she was seeing him like this, and he was telling her things, and yeah, okay, she reported it to social services, and social services didn't do anything about it. But I'm sorry, I just kept thinking, if I was a teacher and I saw a child go through that, like, I don't care about social services. Like, I would not let that kid go home, you know. So yeah, it was a crazy story, and then, like I say, the corruption of the social services. There's a company, and one of the other theories, which I'd never heard of this theory. One of the theories that the psychologists had, it's called scapegoating. So they were saying that in every family unit, in every, you know, if you live in a household or a family with a group of people, one person always becomes the scapegoat psychologically. That just tends to be what happens. And I was thinking, because I live in a commune, and that does typically happen here. You know, it always seems like there's one person that everybody wants to kind of be angry at, and then it'll swap and change the next month. You know, and they do the same in families. And apparently, I mean, if you think about, this is ridiculous, but like Family Guy, it's always Meg, isn't it? You know, which I find incredibly sexist and horrible, but. And I think what they were saying was, where it comes from is that all the stresses of life, all the disappointments that you have in life, it's easier for people to just, for some reason, we just tend to take it out on one person. We'll pick one person. So that was the other reasoning, because they were saying that this mother and this stepfather, when they found the text messages, they were kind of almost getting off on what they were doing to the boy. You know, it was almost like it connected them, if you know what I mean, like as a couple. It's, honest to God, it's one of the sickest, it's mind-blowing documentary. So yeah, I highly recommend that. Hang on, I'm just going to say hello to the Facebook crew. I don't know if they're still there. They're probably bored out of their minds by now. I'm going to say it again, if anybody wants to jump on. Oh, hang on, Jade. Hang on a sec. Okay, there's a friend of mine called Jade. I wonder if she wants to jump on and do that. Yeah, if anybody wants to jump on the podcast, it's not really a podcast, it's like a live radio show, I suppose. If you want to jump on the chat with me, I was just about to start talking about the new L word, which I know you're going to roll your eyes. Some of my friends will be rolling their eyes at that. Let me just ask my friend, hang on. Do you want to join the podcast? We're live on Facebook. Listen, I've never done this before, so I apologise if I'm doing this terribly and there's lots of gaps in the audio and things like that. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time I've done a live, Facebook Live. Okay, she's not replying, so... Oh, no, she's come online. Okay. Let's see. Do you want to come on the podcast? I am live. Let's see what she says. Oh no, that's scary. Okay, she's too scared. Well, if anybody else wants to jump on, you're more than welcome. You just click on the link that I've put in the Facebook description on the live video. It's not scary. It literally is just having a chat with me about... It doesn't even have to be about lesbian stuff, you know. Okay, so no one else wants to do that. Let me just... The other thing I wanted to discuss is... Yeah, so the Trials of Gabriel. Let me just close that down. My brain does not want to work at all today. Yeah, so the new L word. Hang on, let me just write to Jade Hung live on the Facebook page if you want to listen in. This is a terrible... This must be so boring. Yeah, so... the L word was out, I think it was 10 years ago, right? I might be wrong on that, but I think the L word was out 10 years ago. I've got to be honest with you, I put off watching it, the new L word, even though the reviews were incredible and all my, I had friends around the world telling me it was really, really good. It was even better than the original L word. I don't know why, but I think maybe because it's such an old TV series, or maybe because it seemed like it was of its time, and also I did like the original L word, but I didn't love it. It wasn't something that I was like gripped by. Excuse me a sec. But anyway, I was bored one night. I had a friend around, and I said, should we watch the new L word? And like I said, I was expecting it to be kind of just okay. That's what I thought. I thought it'd be okay. It's the L word has always been kind of, kind of like mild lesbian porn with storylines. I don't know why I wasn't massively enamored, but anyway, I put it on the new L word. Do you know what? I can't deny it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good. And everything that the review said, everything that my friends had said, like, it is really, really good. And I don't know whether it's because I get one of the things I get really, really angry about is that, well, not angry, but irritated with, is there isn't any good... Oh, hang on, there's somebody talking. I'm just going to say hello to someone. Hey, Dorina. Nice to meet you. There isn't any good lesbian TV, right? Like, the choices of lesbian TV that we have is so sparse, it's ridiculous. Queer as Folk, the British TV show predominantly about gay men, there was an American kind of copycat series that came out. That was fantastic, that was awesome, but, there wasn't many lesbians in it. The L Word is probably the best lesbian TV show we've ever had. Which, I mean, yeah, it's good, but where is the lesbian, where is all the, like, you think about how much drama goes on in the lesbian world. Like, lesbian drama is, like, just, it's just crazy. You could write a book just about your love life, your own love life with lesbian drama. So the fact that there is only a few TV series that's any good, it's just mind-blowing, like, where is all the good lesbian TV? There needs to be more. So, like, I'm just looking now, okay? If you type in lesbian TV shows, you've got Gentleman Jack, which in the BBC, which, yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I've got to be honest, I'm not sure about the casting of, what's her name, the lead character, because I love Anne Lister. I'm from Yorkshire, where she's from. So I've known about Anne Lister, and, I've known about her story, the real-life lesbian from the 1800s, for a long time. And she was actually a redhead, like me, and her character was quite different to the character. But anyway, it's a really good TV show. But other than that, I'm trying to think what other lesbian TV shows there is. Wentworth. Okay, Wentworth is brilliant. Yeah, hands down, that is really good. Then you've got Lip Service, which was, I don't know about Lip Service, that was pretty bad. Orphan Black, yeah, that was okay. Lost Girl, The Bisexual Woman, yeah, again, it was okay. Tipping the Velvet was amazing, actually, yeah, I'll admit that was really good. But where's like all the modern, other than the L Word, okay, One Mississippi, that's a really, really good comedy, dry comedy lesbian TV show. Yeah, I highly recommend that, actually. Don't know if that's still on Netflix, but that is really good. But I don't know, I feel like there needs to be about 10 queer as folk type lesbian TV shows, not just from the UK, from all over the world, you know. It just annoys me. But yeah, the new L Word, it's really, really good. It's a lot more inclusive. There's a lot more, it's not as many rich white faces. There's a lot more disabled people in there, which is fantastic. I'm disabled myself personally. And one of the things I get kind of annoyed about, even though I am white myself, is, you know, when I'm watching TV and, for example, soap operas in the UK, they typically focus, it always seems to be the lead characters are white and that most of the families are white, and it's like, it's not a, you know, a realistic, I personally don't think that's a realistic view of, you know, certain countries and Western world. You know, it's there should be a hell of a lot more different races and ethnicities and, you know, religions in TV. So with the L Word, they have definitely showed, you know, it's a lot more realistic of the culture of LA. So, you know, you have you have mixed race people, you have black people, you have brown people, you have Asian and Asian lads, so, and disabled people. I mean, I know they had a deaf girl last time and a couple of others, but some of the, like, I don't know, it's just really good. The new the only thing I would say about the new L Word, Generation Q, is that there's parts where it's a little bit over cheesy, a little bit too cheesy, even for me. I'm not American, so I know Americans typically tend to cater towards kind of the Disney everything ends happily type thing. And maybe because I'm from Yorkshire, I like a dry sense of humour. You know, I like quite dark stuff. I'm typically into French cinema and films and TV for that reason, because I like realistic things where, you know, you see people go to the toilet, you see people eat, and, you know, things like that. So it was a little bit cheesy in parts, as you'll see. Like Bet, they kind of, I feel like they make Bet into a martyr, you know, and, you know, some of the music they had behind her when she was giving her speeches and things, I was a bit like, yeah, okay, it's a little bit OTT now, you know. Nobody's perfect, you know. Okay, now how long have I've been rambling on for half an hour, so I think that's plenty time enough. I've talked about the L Word, which, like I say, highly recommend it. It's I don't know if you could say it's better than the first time around, but I was more than pleasantly surprised. I was like, wow, okay, this is actually, I was gripped, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I cannot wait to watch the next episode. That's how good the new L Word is. And then that documentary on Netflix, The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez, I highly recommend that as well. I'm gonna wrap up the podcast now, because I could go on and on about a lot of things, but I'm not going to. So thank you for listening, and next time, if anyone is interested in coming on the podcast, and when I say you can talk about anything, I literally mean anything. You're welcome to discuss TV shows or films or politics. If something is riling you up in politics, well, everything is riling everything is riling us up in politics at the moment for obvious reasons. If you want to talk about something like a viral video recently, if you want to discuss relationship issues or coming out stories, if you want to just discuss straight down sex, honestly, like it's an adult podcast. So if you want to discuss mental health, health issues, problems you're having with your family, it doesn't have to be particularly centered around being a lesbian topic. The fact that you just are a gay woman, or even a woman who likes other, you don't have to be specifically gay either. You could be, whatever the label you want to have, bisexual, pansexual, whatever. If you are a woman who has had relationships with other women, or has them, and you want to just jump on to the podcast and have a chat about anything you feel like, please do. On the Facebook page you will find the Discord link. Discord is it's an application. You can also go on the website, and it has like a chat room type thing, where you can just have a laugh and chat about anything, but it also has a voice chat, a group voice chat. So if you say, for example, you and a couple of other friends, maybe even 4 friends, you've had a few drinks, or you haven't, or you've got an idea of something you want to talk about, you just jump on the voice chat. You can use it on your phone or on your computer or on the website. You jump on the voice chat, and then I just hit record. I know it seems scary, but honestly it's not. I've done this with other friends before, and you just start chatting like friends, and you can have quite a laugh with it. Because as I say, this is a new concept. It's a podcast, but it's an open source podcast where any queer women of any background, of any country, of whatever, it's for you. So if you want to come on and just to make us feel more connected and to talk, and I was discussing it with one of my co-hosts, Vanessa. She's going to be co-hosting a podcast with me very soon. We were talking about it, and we were saying how that there isn't that much kind of media out there, where queer women are talking about their lives and what's going on and problems they have, and it's whether you want to admit it or not, we are quite different to heterosexual people and the issues they have. Because when 2 women have a relationship, and also some of the homophobia that we come across in life, or what it's like to have children, a family as a woman in a relationship with another woman, there's a lot of complicated issues that come with that in society. And I really feel like we kind of need a platform where we don't feel so kind of isolated. We can kind of connect and kind of share in our issues and share in our problems. Because I don't know about you, but if I've ever come across an issue with whether it's wanting to start a family or relationship issues, coming out, or homophobia, and typically when you go on the internet you try and find stuff, it tends to be a lot of the advice columns and a lot of the kind of podcasts and things like that all typically tend to be quite heterosexual, or it is heterosexual. It's a heterosexual world, I feel, so yeah, come on the podcast. It's not as scary as it sounds. Okay, I'm going to leave now. So thank you for joining me. I'm sorry if I bored you to tears, but it will get better. And like I say, got quite a few women that want to come on the podcast with me. We have some very talented authors and writers that are going to join us on the podcast soon from America. We also have a woman who runs a very big all-female music festival. So we've got some interesting people coming up that are going to join us on the podcast. So I hope you enjoy that. So this is goodbye. And remember, lesbians are taking over the world.